We are live. What's up, everybody? John from Florida Moto Talk coming at you with Tristan. And if you notice, we have another special guest who you've probably seen on the channel before, Andy Pellrider. And today, we're just going to hop right into it with some MotoGP talk. It's the off season, but we're seeing a lot of the new bike liveries and the team rollouts, and we're starting to get back into a mini news cycle, I guess, with MotoGP. There's little things, little bits of information that are coming out. So, what better time to talk about it ahead of the testing that's coming than right now? But how you guys doing, man? Andy, Tristan?
Life's good, man. I can't complain. 60 degrees today. It's gonna be 36 tomorrow. But regardless, keeping busy. The winter's off season. Got a little bike maintenance going on. Still hammering away on the running. Just try to stay in shape. But yeah, life's good, man.
Heck yeah, good to hear it, man. How you doing, Tristan?
Pretty good. Done with work for the day, so that's a pretty good start. So starting my typical Sunday, Monday weekend. Finally starting to recover from this COVID that I took with me to Jennings last week, which was super fun in the 20 and 30 degree weather. And
You guys got
yeah,
rain, right?
I got rained out Monday.
It always rains when
So
he's there, every single time.
So yeah, let me know next time you're going.
Every
I'll plan
time
accordingly.
yeah,
Plan
if
around
if
it.
I go
he does it
if I go for a 3-day weekend, it rains every single time, the middle day. Uh
every time.
If I go if I go for a 2-day, we get at least 2 hours of rain on the second day, minimum. It's, the time I went for just the one-day trip, that worked out pretty well. I may just need to start doing that more. But, I don't know if you looked, that February 8th and 9th with the Precision Track Days, the 9th is supposed to rain, and I'm going, so it's
There it
Oh,
gonna
is.
that's so far away. Yeah, you can't plan around the weather.
Yeah, right on the
I
8th it
already
is.
signed up. I already signed up despite it, but, well, I should probably start investing in some rain tires or something.
Yeah, and we meant to start posting up about that too. We wanted to try to get another rider meetup since the last one worked out so well. Try to get another one going. But yeah, February 8th and 9th, Jennings with Precision Track Days. But we'll post out more information about that here pretty soon.
I'm thinking about attending that one. I'm not 100% sure, but I guess I'll have to check my schedule. But yeah, it'd be good to get some seat time in before the STT and where that starts a couple weeks after that, 2 or 3 weeks after that Jennings date.
I know, and hopefully it's warmed up by then. We're supposed to be doing some endurance racing this weekend, but you guys up there around, Alabama, North Georgia are getting these. Apparently, it's snowing up there, is what I'm hearing. Everybody's making snowmans and shoveling driveways now, but we don't know if our guys will be able to get their rigs and get the bikes down to Jennings. Is that we're just waiting on the weather. We probably won't know until Wednesday, Thursday, see how it plays out. The storms that are coming.
Oh man, I hope you guys have good 70 degrees and sunshine, but I'm not so optimistic.
Yeah, from the pictures, it's looking rough. So, well, like I said, I mean, fingers crossed. It at least stops snowing, so the guys can drive down and get the equipment down and everything.
Yeah.
But hey, short and sweet seems to be the format for 2025. So let's hop right into it. Lots to talk about, despite it being the off season with MotoGP. We're going to talk about some things that we're looking forward to next season, some things that might be some of the biggest surprises that may be yet to come next season. And we each brought a topic that we definitely wanted to discuss with the panel, and we'll see how it goes. But Andy, you're the guest today, man. Who should go first?
I'm gonna make you go first, John, since you're putting the little. Tristan and I are kind of
See,
prepared. It didn't really sound
I,
like John was, so I'm going to put him
I,
on the spot.
I mean, I read your mind. I figured that something like that would happen for sure, and I figured that would happen. And despite kind of predicting it, still unprepared, somewhat. But anyways, yeah, I have a something that was on my mind, something that I think next season is. I don't think it's so much up in the air, but it's something that I'm excited to see next season, and it's to see if Pecco Bagnaia is able to become a champion again. Is he able to bounce back from such a close loss this previous season? And I'm wondering. with especially with like the next iterations of the Ducati, right? Is it something that is just going to continue to push Ducati further and further into the future and further and further ahead of everyone as far as performance goes? But I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, just to start off and come back around, do we think Pecco Bagnaia is going to be a champion in 2025?
Do you want to take that, Tristan? I might
We all have thoughts on this one.
Yeah.
I do. I think he can do it. It's so tough. It's really kind of a toss up with him and Mark. I mean, I think we all know, unless one of the other manufacturers did something crazy in the off season, that's what we're looking at for next year. But I think he can do it. I think a lot of riders went from the 23 to the 24 Ducati and really struggled. Look at Bezzecchi; he was like third or fourth in the championship, and then he was just nowhere last year.
You mean the 22 to
Um,
the 23?
or sorry, the 22 to the 23,
Yep.
and the 24 was like an evolution of the 23. And then, at least if you trust Ducati, what they're saying is the 25 is just a slight evolution on the 24. Um, so we know there's going to be a big change in that bike for Marquez to adjust to, whereas Pecco's been just doing those evolutions, which I think will be a little bit of an advantage to him. But I think he can do it, but that's going to be the fun one to watch for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think, a lot of people seem to kind of forget, it seems like, how close this championship was. I mean, despite us just finishing it, because I feel like most people are looking at Marc Marquez in that garage, and there's a lot of people that are saying Marc Marquez is going to be the champion for 2025, but you can't overlook the fact that Pecco has been consistent. When he loses, it's not by a lot. He's been in the same team on the same bike, just the bike that has been progressing and making those small incremental changes. He pretty much is, him and maybe three or four other guys, I mean, are going to be on that same level as far as consistency with the bike and staying within the same team. There's a couple that come to mind. Brad Bender, Fabio, they've been in the same team for a while, but their performance isn't anywhere near where Pecco is. But what do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot with what Tristan, both of you guys actually said. That I really think it's going to come down to between Pecco and Mark. And certainly Pecco has that history with the bike. He's been on that bike for 5 years or whatever it is. He's accustomed to the team, the bike, the setup, all that stuff. Now Marquez, he is ruthless. I think his talent is certainly. I mean, these guys are all super talented, but the way Marquez adapt, look at what he did compared to the other 23s. It is just no contest. I mean, um, the other thing which was interesting is like Frankie Carcetti, his mechanic. He's seen all the data also, and he's like, he's it's going to be Marquez and Pecco. And so, barring any injuries or mechanicals, all those wild cards that can always happen, it's going to be those two, 1-2, in my opinion. Uh, I am actually going to lean toward Marquez is going to win this. I mean, you could flip a coin 10 times and it could go either way. I think it's going to be that close. But I think Marquez is absolutely ruthless, and when he is on his game, he is lethal on that bike. Now Pecco, he's certainly super talented. Also, he's very accustomed to that bike. It just seems like Marquez would look at the way he rides. He doesn't care if he loses a limb on that bike. He is that ruthless on the bike and winning. He has that hunger for winning, and I think that may give him a slight edge. But I really do think it's going to be a toss up at the end of the day. Whoever makes fewest mistakes, crashing out, and doesn't have bad luck like an engine failure or gets whatever, they're going to be the one in the driver's seat at the end of the year and come out on top.
Yeah, and I think the question really is too: do we think that Mark Marquez is going to perform on the same level that Jorge did last season? Because that's how good he's going to have to be
Hmm.
um, to beat Pecco. Like you said, I definitely agree that mistakes are, I mean, it's going to be tight, just like previous season. Mistakes are going to be where you win it or lose it. But do you think Mark is going to perform at about that same level that Jorge Martin did? I mean, just an absolutely unreal, consistent, superhuman level every single weekend, because that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, both of them, both him and Pecco, neither one of them can make mistakes. I mean, one weekend where you run off the track and go from second to 12th, that could be the difference.
Yeah,
Uh,
or
Mhm.
somebody
and
takes you out.
yeah, I mean, this Marquez certainly has a little bit more maturity and experience. Sometimes you can't tell that the way he rides, but I think just due to his experience from, this isn't his first rodeo, and he's gone through what, how many, six championships in MotoGP. He knows what it takes to win, and that's consistent. I think the biggest thing is obviously consistency. Take wins where you can. If you can't, second is fine, as long as the points rack up toward the end and come out on top.
Yeah, and I mean, do y'all see anybody else challenging them whatsoever outside of one or two, of these random tracks where we know that other bikes are just good?
I think that's exactly what it's going to be. It's like one of those, occasionally another bike will have its day in the sun. Um, that's the thing. Like the Ducati has evolved into such a complete motorcycle that it is good at almost every track. Where, and we'll get into this with Aprilia, like Aleix loves Barcelona and that tracksuit, and like Maverick last year at Coda, he was unstoppable at Coda when, everything was going great. So
Yep.
there'll be weekends like that for sure, and these guys just have to say, okay, second or third is fine, and as opposed to pushing beyond the limit and crashing out. That's going to be the difference.
I think if Pecco finds that happy balance of how he rode in 23 and then how he rode last year, he'd be unbeatable. You know, 23, he didn't have the outright speed, but he was always there or thereabouts, and he had the consistency. And then I think last year he went a little too far towards the outright speed and winning those 11 races, something that only Stoner, Rossi, and Marquez and Doohan have done. Um, I think if he can find that happy medium between the two, I don't think he'll be. I think he'll be well set up to win the championship. The other thing is a lot of the mistakes that happen on the Ducati are totally unforeseeable from what Pecco's said. And I think Martinez kind of echoed that as well. Everything feels perfect. Everything seems to be happening exactly as it should. And then next thing with no warning, you're on the ground. And I feel like that consistency of Pecco having been on that bike through the evolutions may give him a little bit of an edge on detecting those sort of things if they can be detected. Whereas Marquez is coming in a little more green with the Ducati, and he may be caught out by more of those times that, like Pecco's described, where the bike is almost too good. Um, so that could also do him some favors as well. Again, going back to just the experience on the bike.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering with the like previous rider lineups with Ducati, there's usually like a clear A rider and a clear B rider until recent times, right? Where we saw Pecco Bagnaia with Bastianini, and with Bastianini coming into the team, we were wondering what is the dynamic going to be like? Because now they've put, they have an A rider in Pecco, but then they're bringing in Bastianini, who he's not going to tell you that he's a B rider, and he's not going to move out of the way for Bastianini. He's not going to give not Bastianini put up Pecco. He's not going to move out of the way for Pecco. He's not going to follow team orders or anything. He's going to race for himself, and injuries and lackluster results kind of slowed him down and really humbled Bastianini. But with Mark Marquez, I'm wondering if Ducati's going to be able to manage the egos, manage both sides of the garage, or have they shot themselves in the foot by creating like the best rider lineup that we've probably ever freaking seen? What do y'all think?
The whole ego thing, that's going to be interesting, and it's really going to be, right now everyone's playing nice. Um, Halfway through the season, when these guys are neck and neck, and they have close races, it's the gloves may come off at that point, and it's going to be. But I mean, I think like Ducati management and Gigi, they they almost like they want their riders to be one too. They want their bike to showcase that their bike is the best, regardless of how what's going on in the garage and what's going on the track. It's really remarkable what he has done with that bike over the last 10 years. So kudos to him. And it's like, I think he's got that winning taste. He doesn't want to, he's on the top step, and certainly he's got that big target on his back. Everyone wants to knock down the Ducati, but he's like, no, we're pretty much, he doesn't want to go anywhere, and who's to blame him? He wants to stay at the top, is ride that out as long as he can.
Absolutely.
And I'm not opposed to some fireworks, but I hope it doesn't get to the level of Yamaha and what was that,
Jorge,
2014,
well,
2015?
that was 15 is when,
Lorenzo and
Lorenzo put the wall up in the garage.
yeah, and then, no one was talking, but to be fair, I don't think Ducati will tolerate that. Um, you know, they are all about improving that bike, improving their riders, and like Andy says, they're not here just to win the championship. They want to be 1 and 2. They want to be the number 1 constructor, and they want to be 1 and 2 in the riders championship. They want to be 1 and 2 in the teams championship. I'm sure they want or expect Grassini to finish second. Um, they're not taking any prisoners, and I don't think Ducati's going to be uh, supportive or complacent in an environment that starts to become toxic. I don't see them allowing that, but at the same time, when I, there's nothing between them, you've got 2 A riders for sure. Um, things can happen, so it's tough
Hmm.
to say for sure.
And and that's why I'm thinking it's possible that they might have shot themselves in the foot because you bring in somebody like Mark Marquez. He definitely is more humble now. He's the more mature version of Mark Marquez, which is very dangerous. But then he also has that star power. He's got the industry in a chokehold right now. He can literally walk out of Ducati right now and find a seat anywhere on any team anywhere, and he can make it happen. And him making this factory seat happen just proves that. So can Ducati control Mark Marquez? Because once the blood's in the water, right? If he sees that a championship is possible, and he sort of talks about it, humbly when they're when he's been asked, are you pushing? Are you going for the championship? And with Grassini, the answer is always, well, we're not. The time's not right, or we're not focused on that, right? The mature,
Having
the
fun.
respectful response. But say we start this season, and like you were saying, Pecco's having issues with the bike at the beginning of the season, and say Mark Marquez gets a couple points ahead of him. Can Ducati control somebody like Mark Marquez?
Well, they have more control. They have the chance, I should say, of more control while he's in their garage, as opposed to if they had let him go to like Aprilia, they would have no control. And I think that was the big. I think honestly, I think we've talked about this before. I honestly thought Jorge Martin. I mean, what more could he have done? He should have gotten that seat.
Yep.
So, but I think the fear of Marquez going to a rival competitor and beaten one, or basically throwing the fly in the ointment, was a bigger concern. Which is plus plus the he certainly is MotoGP star. I mean, he's probably one of the biggest stars right now, and the marketing and all that side that comes with it, certainly under that Ducati flagship umbrella, was certainly appealing to Ducati management. So I mean, yeah, if he was at a different team, they would have no control over what he did, and he would just be even more of a pain in the ass. Now in the garage, if if there's a little friction, at least they have some say over, hey, don't do this or don't do that or whatever. They'll at least have a little bit of control over things.
For
I
sure.
saw an article yesterday that I think was a interview with Gigi, and they were saying, assuming this was legit, that Martin just was demanding way too much money, like just something absolutely insane.
Mm.
Um, which to a degree doesn't surprise me because he was still pissed off at them for taking Bastianini in the first place. Um, and I think he was trying to leverage the fact that he was probably going to take the number one plate from them. But I think, you know, like you say, letting Marquez go somewhere else. I mean, was it last year that Marquez and Pecco had a coming together in Portugal?
In
Um,
Portimao, yeah, there was a second or third round, I believe. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So it's like, I mean, it's like you say, it's better to have some control over him, but then also the financial aspect. If you think about the marketing money, the merchandise sales, all that stuff that Marquez is going to bring in versus Martin, and then you've got Martin demanding more money, whereas Marquez has made his money. He just wants to win now.
that's right.
Um, that's a much easier attitude to manage, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not riding for free, but if,
No.
but I'm sure and certainly money's important to everyone, but he probably was not holding out to the last penny on that Ducati. I think that um, opportunity to ride basically the best bike on the grid on the best team and try to tack on possibly one or two more championships was so appealing to him. He would almost probably ride for free at this point because he's got the money. He doesn't need that.
Yeah.
It's that opportunity again, that chance to tack down another title.
Yeah, and just weird is it to think that the machinery is so important nowadays, right? Where a Honda could prevent Mark Marquez from reaching his potential, right? That's something that we would have never thought was possible, right? Back in the 2000s when he was at the top of his game, right? We would think that the machinery didn't matter, especially for somebody like Mark with what he was doing on that bike. But now we see, you take a guy that's great and you put him on a package that's not. And Andy, I see it over there. I know you have some thoughts on guys getting on packages that that aren't working out for them. But man, it's just so crazy to think, right? That bike was holding Mark Marquez back that much. I mean, one season, and look what this dude has done. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely, and yeah, we could have a whole nother talk about it. The title should be "I want a factory ride," and it's
Yeah,
like, well, be careful what you wish for.
seriously, you get one.
Yeah, but I mean, one of the other things is like they have poured over the data for all the Ducati riders, and I mean, again, according to Frank Carcetti, I mean, what Marquez has been able to do on that GP23 is just I don't think they can understand it. It's almost like looking at it's like the data's in Arabic or something. They're just like, how's this possible? And I mean that's another thing which sort of feeds in my opinion that I mean even at his age and old man of 31 or whatever he is now, just what he's able to do on that bike is just so when he's going to get an updated package and if he pushes that to its limit, it's there's going to be some races it's going to be like wow.
Yeah, they're checked out. Ducatis are checking out this season, at least the factory team.
No,
All
it's
right.
it's gonna be interesting. As much as I think it's gonna be this really tight coin flip, like, could go either way thing, I also feel like there's a decent chance that one of them, Mark or Pecco, just blows the doors off the other, and it's like it turns into this, like, kind of monotonous season of the same thing happening over and over again. It's just with 2 guys with that much talent on that bike that is that good. It's like anything could happen, but it's just between those two.
I actually hope it is close racing. I mean, I think I
Oh,
told
me too.
I mean, I told John I've been sort of like in the off season and everything. I've been doing some of the rewind of past seasons, and like, 2015, 16. They were awesome seasons. Like in 2015, I think there was 8 different riders that actually won a race. I mean, it is so like every race there was a lot of jockeying up for position, and it wasn't just like the last couple of years. Been 2 or 3 bikes check out. And it's like you don't even know what's going on through 4 through 22 because they're so far out of frame they don't even get any camera time. I really do hope it is some more competitive racing, but I think it is going to be a lot of 2 or 3 bikes check out at the front, and it's going to be about that's going to be the main race, and then there may be a race for the podium among the rest of the field, but we'll see. It's not every weekend. I mean, certainly there's going to be more some tracks. There's going to be a lot closer, racing depending on the track. Which, if a bike is um, favorable toward that track, but if it's like a Ducati favorable track that like Marquez and Pecco like, they're going to be gone, and it's going to be a battle for P3, P4, P5.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, like that's just where we are now. Hopefully, I mean, the other manufacturers start to step up, but I really don't see anyone even touching a Ducati until we hit this next motor spec. And even then, I mean, Ducati builds race bikes. So can we even expect any other manufacturers to even gain an advantage when we do lower the CCs? I don't think so, man.
That's
It's
going to
just going to
be
be business as usual.
that's going to be an interesting topic for maybe a year from now or something like that. What's going to happen? But because I think my recollection is like there's whatever Ducati decides on for their engine, whenever their deadline is, February or whatever, that's it, man. They're stuck with that for not only this year but next year, I believe.
Mm.
So I think that's in terms of the bike development. They certainly made a big step between 23 and 24. I think I would say they probably. I don't think it's going to be as big a step. Who knows? But because if they go in the wrong direction, they're kind of stuck with that mistake for this year and next year. So I think they're still certainly going to improve the bike, but I'm not sure if it's going to be this huge technological leap forward.